Good day to you, Jason here, Birchfield Family Farm, Oxford, Ohio, raising grass-fed Red Devon cattle, St. Croix sheep and chickens in a rotational grazing system here. We're doing that all on about 5 acres, though we own just under 60. We rent quite a bit of ground, and that has worked out pretty well for us as we've gotten this farm off the ground here. Got a good word for you today. This comes from Psalm 91. He who dwells in the shelter of the Most High will rest in the shadow of the Almighty. I will say of the Lord, He is my refuge and my fortress, my God in whom I trust. You know, I found myself today zooming in on this word rest here as we read it in the text here in Psalm 91, and found myself viewing this this parallel through the lens of what we do here in our rotational grazing. You know, we're running somewhere in the neighborhood of between 12 and 13 animal units now on about 5 acres, which is over double, somewhere between 2 and 3 times the average set stock grazing rate, you know, for our area. It's typically about 1 animal unit here. And really the paradox to me when you step back and you look at this, you know, I mean, at most we're grazing each paddock here, you know, maybe 2 days out of each month. So 2 out of 30, you know, we're utilizing each paddock between 6 and 7% of the time through the grazing season. 6 to 7%. I got thinking, how is it that we can have between 2 and 3 times the productivity versus conventional, you know, set stock grazing, and only be grazing for under 7% of the time? And I got to thinking, and it's that the secret sauce there is the rest. And I think about right now, I think about just situations in my life, in my family right now, in the culture and the society. There is chaos. There's chaos swirling all around us. And I find myself right now really diligent, or I have the desire to be more diligent, let's say it that way, about setting up boundaries. And these boundaries are for rest. So much in the culture right now and there has been for a long time with hustle culture, and you got to get out there and, you know, work. And I'm not against work, certainly not here on the farm, but there has to be a proper balance there. We have to have rest in order to maintain productivity, and that's what we're not told in the culture. The culture does not believe in God and does not acknowledge this concept of rest to a large extent. And isn't it interesting, though, that when we engage in rest, you know, not only are we better off emotionally, physically, spiritually, but we're actually more productive. You know, what a paradox. Okay, let's hop into the nuts and bolts here. And we've got cattle on paddock 3 here. Not sure if you can see them lying down over there. Very content right now. We started that 3rd rotation for the season here. We need to move some meat birds here. We're running them on paddock 5. We have sheep out around the windmill. See if we can see the windmill. I think that's it right there. It's a ways out there, but we made a new 1/4 acre paddock this year. And stepping back, zooming out for everybody, 14 to 15 1/4 acre paddocks now. And this is all within the context of 5 acres total. And so whatever we don't have in a paddock, then we kind of just let the animals roam. You know, we've got a wooded section. You guys have heard me talk. I like running the cattle down in that wooded area when we get to the end of the paddocks, the rotation, simply because that gives them access to some honeysuckle and some shrubby type of stuff where they can get additional nutrients, minerals. Matter of fact, saw a graphic the other day from, I believe it was Alan Williams. I'll throw that up here. Just look at these numbers on crude protein levels and NDF. NDF is neutral detergent fiber. It's just a measure of how digestible the feed is to the ruminants. And look at honeysuckle here. Honeysuckle and then that multiflora rose. Typically what I've been told is, an NDF between like 45 and 65 is pretty decent. The higher you go, I believe, the less digestible the nutrients are. Look into it for yourself, but look at those protein numbers, especially on the honeysuckle, and then that NDF, the low NDF as well. Just wow, pretty awesome numbers there on that stuff. So if you get a chance to run your animals through a shrubby, wooded kind of area, we got all this invasive, species of honeysuckle. Let's put it to work here. I know our animals love that stuff, both cattle and sheep. Okay, checking in on the meats here. We are 7 weeks old today, and everybody is looking great. Very happy with this batch. Just got everybody moved and fed out. Processing 2 weeks from today. We process at 9 weeks old, and go by our feed schedule. It gives us right on between a 4 and a 5 pound bird here. So this is a 10 by 12 tractor, and move that to a fresh spot of grass every day. One thing we've discovered on these guys as they grow out, especially keeping these Plossin waters clean is just incredibly important. We've learned that over the years, and I'll tell you, I don't know how we discovered this, but this is just a tuft of the St. Croix hair sheep hair, and man, we use this thing, the sheep hair. It's just laying around in the pasture, and it just works phenomenally for scrubbing these things down. It's kind of hard to do one-handed here, but you get the point. I don't know, as just enough abrasion on this stuff, just to really clean up these waters really well. I mean, you can see there, it's amazing. So if you got hair sheep around, you find those tufts of hair. I think actually this was just kind of born out of necessity. I was out here one day and I told the kids I needed a sponge or something to scrub these with, old toothbrush, I don't know, something, and somebody handed me this here just laying around, and man, it just works phenomenally. We find this stuff too in the beehives that don't make it through the winter. We'll find a bunch of this hair in there. You got the mouse nests. The mice love using this stuff. So pretty valuable for cleaning these waters, though, and of course very inexpensive. So on these meats here, we've talked about this before, but we pick a paddock each year, and then we run these meats in that specific paddock. And that not only gives really great grass and forage access to the birds here, keeps them healthy, gives us a really great tasting end product, but it also puts down their manure as fertilizer on whatever paddock that we choose here. And you can kind of see going back here what 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, about going back 8 or 10 days here, things really start to recover. And then we came down this way, and you can see here we've got a full recovery right in this area, and that grass just explodes once it's fully recovered. So this will be a great boost for us then when we get into that dry season here, mid to late July into August through September. We'll have grass growing over here like crazy. We've had many visitors here over the past few days here, and we've shared so much. Some folks come by to buy products here. Some folks are just here at the right time, and we have golden raspberries right now, or red raspberries. Those ripen up, and we can share those with others, straight off the plant. And I tell you, that is one thing that just stokes my fire. It never gets old. I feel like the products here, the things that we're bringing forth from the land, it's a tangible goodness of God. I mean, you can literally taste it in eggs that were gathered same day, that our customers take home, or just the produce or whatever is in season here. The Lord provides for us, and we're able to extend that to others. But I had an experience recently with the rams. I had left them in an area too long. Of course, we have rams peeled off right now because you know, we strategically breed them, put them in with ewes in November to make spring lambs. And so we don't want any lambs here 5 months from now. That wouldn't be a fit. And so I have rams pulled off, and I had left them. Matter of fact, it was in front of the chicken tractor here. We run the rams. We had them in front here to knock down the grass so it doesn't get too high. So I wouldn't really have to mechanically mow. And, you know, things get busy around here. We get into stuff, and I'd say, you know, the rams are one of the last animals that kind of get attention this time of the year, just because, you know, there's only 2 of them and it doesn't take a whole lot to care for them or feed them this time of year. And so we left them there a little too long, and they overgrazed. You know, they had it eaten down too far. But I had this realization in that moment coming out to check them, and they were just fighting. I mean, one had a blood spot on his head where they were fighting. I just had in that moment, I had this this revelation, you know, this system that we're in now. You know, if I was someone in charge and I wanted to create angst, I wanted to create fighting, and I wanted infighting because I wanted to distract from the theft and the bad character that I would have as a leader. If I wanted to distract from that, and I wanted infighting amongst the population, then what would I do? I would create scarcity. Okay, and that's exactly what we did with these rams. We left them in too long, and isn't it interesting? When we create scarcity, what do we see? We see fighting. And that's, to me, that's exactly what's going on right now in this culture. Leadership is creating scarcity with this dollar system that we see continuing to lose value, continued inflation. But here's the reminder, and here's what I want to drive home today, is there is still an abundance in God. There is still abundance that He provides. It's free. You can go out and you know, pick the raspberries. The ruminant animals are eating grass. This is one of the reasons I believe that in the coming times, in the coming days and months and years, these small farms across this country are going to be the ones that anchor us. Okay, that very tangibly provide a baseline bedrock support that's built on the goodness of God in Jesus. Okay, and they're providing a baseline that we can build a new culture off of. Essentially, we cannot remain here in this level of scarcity that we see now. And so we have to build, we have to come together as small farms, we have to work together. But be encouraged, there is still that abundance of God that's there, and we can still live in that and rest in that daily. Okay, back here at the windmill paddock is what we call it. This is a new paddock that we added this year. That is the neighbor's property on the other side of the fence there, and it's heavily row cropped. We'll talk about that here, but basically I split it up, this 1/4 acre, up into 2 8-acre sections. You can see the first one we grazed here. Look at all that trample that we left behind. And then, of course, this second one is where we are now, and it looks like they are ready to move. So everybody's looking pretty good here. We need to get them up there on this paddock number 4. I want to join them back with the cattle. Now, looking at this, here's this windmill, and there is a 12-foot well. It's a shallow well down in here, and we do pull water out of that for compost. I tried watering animals out of that one year, and we lost a few sheep. Had it tested and found out it was high in nitrates. So here's the situation. You know, you got row crop farmers across the other side of this fence, you know, and look at how everything runs down into this swale, and then it flows right on down here, right into that well. Keeping this little buffer strip kind of where the water flows. I'm going to let this grow up. I'm not going to graze this, because I want those roots to grow deep and hopefully filter out at least some of those nitrates. Okay, here we go. Let's see if we can run them up front. two little helpers here, little shepherdesses. Hey, okay. So we're trying to run them straight up there and then just past the corner post. We've taken a wire out. Let's see how we can do here. Now this is all rented pasture here, so we got to keep them off this. Keep them moving. Okay, we'll get Sawyer to circle up on that far side here. Push him back this way. There we go. Push him in from that way up. Okay, there we go. Got a couple that got out there, but back in there for the most part. Okay, can you guys focus on those ones that are out? Okay, we're cooking with gas now. Man, those lambs are fast. Hey, Sawyer, you go ahead and head on the other side with Sarah. Go on, sheeps. Come on. Come on. Come on. Okay, so sheep are fully enclosed here in paddock 4. I want to get that true multi-species graze here. Let's get cattle moved. Coming off of paddock 3 here. On to 4. Let's look everybody over. Tell you, I was just telling somebody last night how pleased I've been with how the cattle have slicked off this year. And hate to belabor the point here. You guys hear me talk about it often, but it's that free choice mineral over there that has done that for us this year. Running both sheep and cattle, that is the best solution I've found to mineral for both species at the same time. We tried the sheep mineral with the cattle. Cattle did not get enough copper, failed to slick off. But this year has been, it's been good. Come on, you guys. Come on, Days, let's go. See M there, really good looking coat. Younger ones I noticed are always just a little bit slower to slick off, but there's a big Pat there. I mean, look at him, just beautiful. It's hard to believe he's all grass, isn't it? Little Joy calf there. She's still got a little hair on there, but she's younger. They get into that teenage stage and they get looking pretty rough. They gotta push through that, but got them in here. We'll do a true multi-species graze today. Looking at what we're coming off of here, leaving some, definitely leaving some behind here. You know, we're still early on in the season here. Still getting that explosive growth here, heading into mid-June. With all the rain, I think we're at what, about 23 inches of rainfall so far for this year, which is pretty unusual for us. Honestly, we only do about 30 to 35 total annually. So to have that much so far, I guess, you know, we're making up for that drought last year. So some of you may notice, I know one person commented on the last video, we are missing Mr. Big. He is the big horned bull. We still have him pulled off. He's south of the hay barn there. And, you know, we had that heifer come into heat, and the two full-grown intact bulls got a little rowdy. The Devons are not aggressive at all. Even the bulls, very docile. But with that heifer coming into heat, they wanted to jazz things up a bit, and I just was not all right with that. So we're still got Mr. Big separated. He is still within this 5 acres though that we're running up here. So getting down to the numbers here, you guys know I'm a numbers guy. We're running 9 head of Devon cattle right now, about 28 sheep. That's 13 full-grown ewes and rams, in addition to the 15 lambs that we have. And then we're running about 140 chickens. We got the 100 meats over there. And we did move our layers back here. We'll head back there and take a look at them and explain the strategy there. About 100 meat birds and 40, roughly 40 to 45 layer chickens. When you're counting animal units, a chicken is 100th of an animal unit. So for every 100 chickens you have, you're running an additional animal unit there. So that puts us at between 12 and 13 animal units that we're running on 5 acres. And again, like we talked about earlier, our average here for our area for grazing is about 1 animal unit per acre. So we should only be able to run really about 5 animal units during the season. And we're between 2 and 3 times that. We see that consistently year after year, where we're able to between double and triple productivity here. Again, I attribute that to good soil quality, good soil life, and fertility. We grow good forage, obviously, but I really attribute it, most of that to that rest period. Getting that rest period right, getting it dialed in, and quick moves, and that seems to be the recipe here for us in our area. I am by no means telling you to go run 2 and 3 times the animal units in your area. You need to check with a local farmer or the extension office or something. I always tell people, start with whatever is recommended locally there for set stock grazing. Start with that number when you start out, and rotate your animals, and you'll only see that productivity increase. But start there, be a little more conservative starting out. But I'm by no means telling you what to do here. I'm just sharing what is working in our area. Let's go back and I'll explain what we're doing with these layers. So as we walk back here to paddock 1, we got our layers in paddock 1. Let's walk and talk here. Question I get here on the channel is, gee, why in the world would you run 2 intact bulls? When we started with sheep, one of the things we learned pretty quick was that, our sheep were multiplying pretty rapidly. And we got to the point where after a couple generations, it was like I knew that we needed to introduce a second bloodline. And so we did. We sought out a semi-famous ram from Kentucky, West Coast Genetics. And it was another farm that had him. His name was Sarge. Sarge, the ram, has since passed away, I've learned. But we had, Sarge was actually, he sired the ram that we had here for a time. And so we have Sarge's genetics in that second line that we have. And so when we purchased our cattle, it was a couple years after we had started with sheep. And I thought, I wonder, I could probably get a couple steps ahead here if I would just go ahead and when we buy, let's buy 2 different lines in the bulls, right? And that way we can breed how we want to do that. And, not really be doing line breeding as much in the beginning. There really is an art to that. And so I just wanted to start with cattle. And I think we kind of got the cart ahead of the horse there. Bulls are fine if they grow up together, intact bulls. They typically, they're going to push around and try and establish dominance. But we had this heifer come into heat. They were fighting here a month ago. I did a video on that. And just got a little chaotic. That was a little much for me. And so I'm kind of sympathizing with those folks that are questioning my motives here for running multiple bulls. And I don't think it's a fit for us, to be honest, because we will end up probably getting rid of Mr. Big here is what's going to have to happen. And so I think, the downside to that is then, every few years you're searching for another bull. And so that means, selling the existing bull that we're running, which I'm very, very just over the moon happy with Big Pat as a herd sire. He has been awesome. But, figuring out a way to swap them out. Also had another question, well, how's come you don't just AI? just AI everybody and get rid of your bulls. You could have 2 more cows here. And I hear that, and I hear that. And my response there was, I wish I wasn't so old-fashioned. You know, one thing you got to remember, AI is not bulletproof either, okay? So, you know, a couple different scenarios there. Number one, what if you can't get somebody out here to AI, okay? Or what if something happens and they can't, you know, you can't get somebody here to do that? That's not really a DIY kind of thing. So you're hiring that out. You've got more input costs when it's something that a bull will just do naturally, right? And then the other thing with AI is, you know, it just doesn't always take. It doesn't always work. And so I've always just kind of steered more towards the natural side of things here. But I will concede and say, you know, running 2 full-grown intact bulls, if you got them peeled off and you got a separate space for them, I think, you know, we could probably make that work. But running everybody together year-round on just the small 5 acres, the way we're doing this, you know, obviously wasn't a fit for us right now. As we grow and we get, you know, we're able to select bulls from in-house here and have a separate place for them, I think, you know, that would be good. But at this point here with what we're doing, I think one bull at a time here. Now we do have another small intact bull we're running now. And my thought was bringing him up as a potential herd sire behind Pat, you know, potentially selling Pat here at some point, or even selling the small intact bull, Hank, and he's gonna be a good one. Okay, so here at Chickens, these are our layer birds here, and I'm up on a stump here giving you an air shot here, but you can see what I've done here is I picked our worst area of our grazing system here. This is paddock 1, okay, and I've got netting strung all the way around within paddock 1 down. You can see our boundaries down there. Paddock 1 goes all the way down there, goes all the way up there, just beyond the trees there, and comes down. So just a big square here. But we can never really grow much of anything right in this section here where I've got the birds. And so my thinking is this year, you know, rather than run them behind cattle, which I'm gonna come down here, we actually may do that. I'm thinking let's put them on this section here that is the poorest performing paddock, and let's just let them hammer this. And you can see here, there was originally a cow pat right here. You can see that's completely decimated. It's gone. There was another one there. Look at that. I mean, just shredded it. Absolutely shredded. I think they're even breaking up some of these dead sticks and stuff that are out here. But the way we're running this, we got this deer feeder, and we just program this to go off, you know, a couple times a day. That's going to fling out all the food that they need. And then I put it down here because we got a little outbreak of, I don't know what you'd call this. I think it's ironweed maybe. And I'm wanting them to put some pressure on this ironweed here and hopefully kind of trample that down. You can see we've only been out here a day, and you can see they're already getting some pressure down here. So I don't know, look at these. Look at these pats. Is that not amazing? Look at what they've done there. Just a phenomenal harrowing job. That reminds me of somebody on the channel that had left a comment saying they had run cattle for like, it was something crazy, like 35 years, and was given advice on, you know, saying that cattle will not eat around their pats for 2 years on his farm. And I was like, man, I was thinking that through. I'm like, wow, we could never get by with that here. Just because, you know, we're running cattle and sheep, not as tight as we could, but it's fairly tight. And by the end of the season, if our pats were not breaking down, there's no way they'd have nothing to eat. They just would avoid everything out here. And so, you know, in a situation like that, I would be tempted. And I'm not, by no means do I mean any disrespect here to somebody that's been grazing for 35 years. I can't imagine all that experience has taught someone in that situation. But I have to wonder, you know, about soil biology. You know, if your pats are sitting there for 2 years straight and cattle won't eat around them, you know, something's not right there. Soil, I kind of default to soil biology. You know, you gotta get that biology up, that, or, you know, run some chickens behind cattle for a time to get those things busted up. Something's off there. You know, we could, like I say, we could just never never get away with that here. We wouldn't do it, you know, by the end of the season, we wouldn't have anything to graze. So, you know, perhaps keeping an eye on that soil biology, I think, is paramount. Hey, thanks for hanging with me today. The challenge here today, I'll reiterate this, and I know I get kind of preachy on the channel, but I really believe we're in a very difficult season right now, and things are only going to get tougher. That's my personal view. And we've got to have weapons at our disposal as Christians, as believers, things that we can employ and engage. And one of those, in my opinion, is rest. And so I challenge you today, not just knowing about rest, not just even knowing that it will bring you more productivity, okay, but actually being able to discipline yourself to employ the rest, put it into action. And you know, we've been given a blueprint for that in Scripture with a Sabbath. I think there are even ways beyond that, though. But very intriguing here, right, that we're only using under 7% of the time to graze in each paddock throughout an entire season, yet we are more productive overall. So I challenge you with that today. Thanks for hanging with me. Be blessed. Be at peace today. Don't let anything steal that peace in the name of Christ. Take care.